Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Rocky Miller, and I'm here along with Coach Johnnie Cole for the HBCU Coaches Corner, where we go over everything that we need to go through in HBCU football. We're going to cover the SWAC and the MEAC along with a little bit of Dion today, Coach. Coach, last week you were out of pocket, I was out of pocket, and we just couldn't get together and get it done. So we took a week off, so to speak, and we're back at it again, man. And I couldn't wait for this week in order to, get it kicked off. I want to also go, we're going to go over our picks that we made last week. But before we do any of that, Coach, just tell me, how you doing, Coach?
Man, I'm doing great, man. I had a week off, 2 weeks off for our fall break here in beautiful Arizona, and was able to. Me and my girlfriend was able to travel around and get away and let her hair down, and we end up at the Prairie View Grambling game, and then we end up at the Alabama State Bethune-Cookman because I always got to get that football, so I stay close to that football. So. Man, great. And then my brother, them at Allen University is 5-1, the first time in the history of the school. So I'm always cheering for him. And the Colorado Buffaloes. You got to support Dion and another African American coach is doing a great job, and he got my man up at Penn State, and also of course at Notre Dame. Man, they got upended this week. So you're always cheering for those guys who's very few, which is our African American head football coaches. So it was a good weekend, and I missed talking with you, and man, looking forward to it, and we got a lot to get into.
Oh yeah, Coach, it's always a pleasure getting into it, and so we can kind of talk about 2 weeks of football this week because we had our picks, and Coach, you did well, Coach. You did well. I want to let you know you did well. You did great. You were 7-3. The only 3 games you lost were the Morgan State game, the Norfolk game, and the Campbell. All those teams lost, and of course, the Yale game. The Yale beat Morgan. Yeah. A&T beat Norfolk, and of course, NCCU beat Campbell. Coach, but I'd like to let you know, Coach, that I was 9-1, Coach.
Yes, sir.
I was 9-1, Coach. The only game I lost, Coach, Prairie View kept me from having a perfect week, Coach. I got it all right other than Prairie View. You, of course, picked the G-Men, and they actually won the game. You actually, like you said, you attended that game firsthand. And that may have gave them that extra advantage they needed in order to get over the hump to beat Prairie View. But the G-Men actually won. And let's start out with that review, Coach. You were able to see that game firsthand. What did you see from – I didn't think Hugh Jackson and the G-Men could put up 35 points against that Prairie View defense. They absolutely did. What did you see with that game?
Well, I've been watching Grambling. I've seen them the first game of the year against Hampton, and they didn't win. But I've seen a different team, and Hugh Jackson is showing his coachability along with Coach Thornton, his defensive coordinator. They've been proven. They did a great job in the recruiting area. He moved a couple guys around. I thought the quarterback played well. They mixed it up real well on the offensive side of the end, and they played good, solid defense. And that game is a classic. It was 55,000 there. I want to take my hat off to Al West, who's the promoter of that game. And man, I had a great time, and it was a good football game all the way to the end. Both coaches did a great job of having their kids prepared, and it was a great game to watch.
Wow, Coach. But yeah, also that same weekend. Another pivotal game I thought was Alcorn was playing. Oh man, let me look at the schedule. We both picked Alcorn, and so that's why I don't have the other team. Let me get it up. But while you're discussing that, Coach, probably to me the game of that week, the game of week 4, was actually NCCU and Campbell, which NCCU got down really big early.
Right.
And then they came roaring back to win the game 49-48. What did you think about that victory? And what did Trey Oliver prove to you, him and his team prove to you over that?
Well, I had a chance to talk with Trey, and his kids, he just said they kept on fighting. Once they realized that they could play with Campbell and not only play with them but beat them, and knew what the mistakes they were making, because they gave them those points real quick. And he said once his kids realized that we just got to calm down, play our brand of football. And as you can see, they came back and won it at the end.
Yeah, it was for a lot of the game, I thought that NCCU was out of it, and then all of a sudden they came roaring back, and it was, like I said, it was a great game. Campbell is a formidable opponent, you don't take a win like that lightly. What does that say about, they haven't started conference play yet, right?
Right.
Where does that position Trey Oliver? Well, we may as well go ahead and move into the next week, which the next week they ended up playing Elon, right, which was a ranked FCS opponent. Right. And they defeated Elon, and they left no doubt about that game. Where does that position NCCU as they're headed into conference? Are they the favorite going in, or do you?
It ain't no question. I mean, they're coming off a national championship, Black College national championship. They got their quarterback back, and most of some of their players. They end up losing an offensive tackle. He went and took a NIL. I want to say at North Carolina, and he left them, but they were able to replace him. And Trey and his staff, they do a great job down there. And ain't no question he's the favorite to win that conference. Last year they picked him almost last, and he snuck up on them and won it all. So he does a great job, and he has a great program.
Just to recap the MEAC, you don't hear any noise, do you?
Well, you got North Carolina Central sitting at 5-1 overall. You got Howard sitting at 2-3. You got Norfolk at 2-3, and you got Morgan State at 1-4, which I thought would do better. He jumped off and beat a good comparable team his first year, and then of course Delaware State is bringing up the back at 1-5. So as you say, they got 6 games in, and they will start their conference play for the next 5 weeks, and it looks like North Carolina Central is way out there, at 5-1.
They started really last year, and then they ran into old Buddy Pugh and got bit by the Bulldogs last year. So, you never know what's going to happen. At the end of the day, Coach, you probably know as well as anybody, trying to keep those 18 to 22-year-olds focused each and every week is a very difficult task.
Well, that's the fun thing about college football. You never can really turn the TV off. I've been in games where when I played against Grambling State at halftime, we was down 34-17. And as you know, in Black College, after the band, everybody kind of was like, man, should we stay? Should we go? And actually, people told me that once we opened up the second half and we end up going right down and scoring, and they hear the crowd going, they start getting back out their car, coming back into the stadium. And as you know, we end up winning that game 45-41 in overtime.
Okay, Coach. Also going, let's kind of switch gears and talk a little bit about the SWAC and review their week that we missed, right? They had a pretty big week. they had pretty much all conference games on the slate last week. And the first one I like, we could look at. Let's go over the game you were at. You were able to attend in person. You mentioned Bethune-Cookman traveled to Montgomery and played Alabama State. What did you see in that game, Coach?
Man, both teams struggled offensively. Alabama State took the ball down inside the red zone at least 5-6 times that game and only came up with 19 points. Same thing with Bethune-Cookman. They went down there several times in the red zone and came up with nothing. At least Alabama State had a decent kicker. But so both teams struggled on the offensive side of the ball. Very good game. It was Alabama State's homecoming. Bethune-Cookman took a 7-3 lead and kept that lead for a while until Alabama State was able to score. So, Alabama State got some things to do on the offensive side of the ball. They got to be able to score more points than 16, 17 points a year. Bethune-Cookman, I thought quarterback-wise, I love the quarterback, but they got to be able to establish what I always say. They got to be able to establish what on offense. That run game, defensively they scrappy. They real scrappy. Alabama State got to get in and fit in of who they going to start at quarterback. I haven't seen too many football games where you play 3 quarterbacks.
Wow.
So I'm pretty sure that Coach Robinson and his staff knows what they're doing. I'm just here to analyze and go off of my experience and me playing quarterback position, what that means. When you got 2 other guys, all 3 of y'all are running in the game and taking snaps. I don't think that's a successful ingredient.
Now, Coach, let me say this. Let me take a moment. If anybody would have the question for myself or Coach, you certainly can put your comments, put your question in the comments. We'll be happy to answer it. We're also going to take phone calls at some point if you're interested in calling in and asking Coach any questions. But Coach, I'd like to ask you a question. When you have a guy they brought in like Demetrius Davis, who was a very highly touted guy from a high level FBS program, and you bring him in publicly on the NIL deal, is there pressure to play a guy like that? Can you wait and allow him to develop? Or how do you manage that? Because they've given him a number of opportunities to play, for whatever reason, it's just not panned out up to this point.
Right. Well, one of the things, man, and it depends on the man in charge. I believe in winning, and football is a team sport, and nobody is bigger than the team. And you got to make sure you establish that, because sometimes that hurt the kid. The kid coming thinking that I'm doing you a favor instead of no, we're doing each other a favor. And here's the other thing, on his face, he didn't play at Auburn. Let's get that straight. He didn't play. He was just a highly recruited athlete out of high school. He got an opportunity to go to Auburn. And then who's to say that up on Auburn, they not really knocking things over. They struggling. So you got to understand, his teaching and what they doing on offense and what you doing on offense. And I get it. He's a big time athlete. But if he hadn't played and hadn't learned anything, then what you got? What what you're doing is putting him over team. And and then you got to be able to reprogram him and put him in your offense and make sure that he can use his athletic abilities, because there ain't no question that he's an athlete.
So yeah, sometimes you end up rushing the kid. You see it in the NFL a lot, where they rush a guy to play. He never gets the real chance to sit back and develop the way he used to, Coach. We're gonna move on to probably the game of the week in the SWAC, which was Grambling versus Grambling traveled to Inabena to play Alcorn State, and they just squeaked Alcorn State just squeaked by Grambling 25-24, which seemed like Alcorn had the lead. You know, got the lead in the fourth quarter, and then Grambling, I think, throws interception on their way coming back, and they just don't get in the end zone. So, or the field goal for that matter. So, what did you think about that, Coach? Did that turn out the way that you thought it would?
No, I thought Grambling would win the football game, and that throws a monkey wrench in that East. The West is already decided.
You mean Florida, the East is decided?
I'm sorry, yeah, the East. I'm sorry, you're right, East. Florida A&M will win the East. They way up in front. They beat Jackson State. They beat Alabama A&M. They beat Alabama State. So they beat the top people. The thing of it is in the West. You got PV sitting up there at 3-1, Alcorn 2-1, Grambling 2-1, Southern is 2-1. UAPB and Texas Southern is 0-2. And those guys, if they lose one more game, they would be mathematically out of it. They got those two down there, Mississippi Valley, Texas Southern, got a lot of things got to happen. But those four up front, they swimming over each other. Right now, Prairie View got the lead because they beat Alcorn, you know what I mean? And Alcorn beat Grambling, but Grambling beat Prairie View. But I think when they start talking about the tiebreaker, it's head-to-head. So in the wash, it'll come out that those four teams will be representing, one of them will be representing the East.
Coach, and moving on to
the West.
Yeah, and moving on to another East matchup, was Jackson State traveling to, I believe they played that game in Mobile, if I'm not mistaken. And Jackson State got up, jumped on them real early. At halftime, It was 35-7. A&M came back somewhat and ended up winning the game. Ended up losing the game 45-30. Did that game turn out the way you thought?
Well, I take my hat off to T.C. Taylor. Some coaches take over jobs and they clean house. I think all he did was jumped on the back of the same horse Dion was rolling and put his ego and pride away and say, we're gonna keep this bandwagon going. So I take my hat off to him. Offensively, they did some great things fast and early. And, they made it clear that, we one of the best teams in the conference. Unfortunately, losing to Jackson State early, have caused them, the East Side Championship.
Yeah, Coach, and we'll handle Prairie View, Mississippi Valley. They played this past weekend. Prairie View won handily, 30-12. That I'm sure that one turned out the way that you thought it would, and that brings us to what I was actually anxiously anticipating this game, which was Florida A&M traveling to Baton Rouge to take on the Southern Jaguars, and it was a much closer game than I think a lot of people thought it would be. Southern was in control of this game for a large part of it, but Florida A&M, being the better team, ended up winning it 26-19. What did you think about that game and how it turned out?
Well, I had an opportunity to look at the game, and early, Florida A&M was, moving the ball up and down the field, and I know Coach Simmons is like, we got to take advantage, when we get down there and stop turning the ball over. They ran one play where the back swung out of the backfield, and the quarterback knows that the guy that's supposed to be checking the back is rushing. And I don't know why. All he had to do was put some air on the ball, and the back runs. He walks in the end zone. And Coach Simmons, boy, he was hot on that one. So they just got to be more consistent. They got a bullseye. They got a target. And everybody know to go through the East, you got to go through Florida A&M. And he know that. So everybody is playing them tough, but nobody is beating them.
As you look at the game was really close on the scoreboard. But when you look at how the yardage breaks down, Musa was able to pass for 325 yards. He dropped back 53 times and got sacked once. You know what I mean?
Right.
And no interceptions. How many times are you going to drop back 53 times and only get sacked once and throw no interceptions? And to me, that was the telling stat in the game, that you can drop back that many times and not get sacked. And for the large part of the game, Musa had plenty of time to throw, and it had a pretty comfortable day. It seems like they were either shooting themselves in the foot in the red zone, or they were trying to go for it on fourth down, and they were coming up. Even though statistically I thought Florida A&M dominated the game, I still think it was a really good showing by Southern, and they surprised a lot of people with their performance. That brings us to something I want to ask you, Coach. And what I'm trying to do is I want to bring up the SWAC standings, right?
Right.
Let me see. Can I bring them up here? And we all know what the situation and circumstance is. What the situation is for
coaches.
Florida. For Florida A&M, right? They're leading the East, right?
Right.
But the West, like you said, is wide open. But as we go through, I want you, Coach, to put your coaching hat on, right? And see, and just give a grade for I want to look at the first year coaches, see where they at, and then some of the coaches with a little tenure, and look and see what you think kind of job they go. Let's go over the first year coaches, and we can kind of put them together, and we can talk about Mississippi Valley first.
First year coach, young coach out of Delta State, was just a wide receiver coach, played ball at Mississippi Valley State. Valley is a perennial losing program. The only time they won was back in 1985, and I think they had a winning season under Willie Totten, 6-5 season. So they're a perennial losing program. So you don't expect a lot from them. I don't know for some reason why they continue to think that go getting a young coach is their answer. They need to go get a coach that's been in the mud, that's been there, done that, and has turned programs around. They need a turnaround coach. They need an older coach that knows, and for some reason they don't do that. So Valley stays in the mud. I don't see them getting any better for the next 2 or 3 years, and that's just the way I see it.
Okay,
Texas,
that's it.
Go ahead.
I was going to say another first year coach is a coach over at Bethune-Cookman, Coach Woody. He's 1-4, and he's at the bottom of the East as well, at 0-2. What do you think what is his situation?
Bethune-Cookman is a different animal than Mississippi Valley. Bethune-Cookman is used to championships, and then being in the state of Florida where you got a lot of great athletes at, and down on Daytona Beach, you got a chance to get some. So, it'll be interesting in watching him. He came from Florida State, played ball at Bethune-Cookman. So it'll be interesting watching Bethune-Cookman come back. But right now, the team don't look, they don't look like they can win a conference yet. But, once again, it's his first year. He's still on his honeymoon. He's still sniffing his flowers.
Okay. And here's another coach. These next two coaches in the East, and I'm gonna mention them together, but their situations are very different. One of them is in the second year of their program, but for some reason the fan base seems rather restless. And then the other one, the coach has been there a while, has won a SWAC championship, but those fans also seem restless. So I'm talking about Alabama State with Coach Eddie Robinson, and also Cornell Maynard from Alabama A&M. They're in different situations. Cornell Maynard is a 10-year coach. Eddie Robinson, this is his second year, but it seems like the fan base is very restless and not happy at all with what the situation is with their head coach.
Well, Coach Maynard at Alabama A&M, he's you know, he's putting points up. He's making the game excited, but he's not winning the championships. He's not winning championships, you know, and he did a great job at Winston-Salem, but he flopped at Hampton, and he was able to get the job at A&M. You know, he does some great things over there, but, you know, at the end of the day, you got to win championships. You got to win that Magic City Classic year in and year out, you know, but he's got a good established program. He's had winning seasons, and that's what you can ask for. You know, it might not be as exciting, but that's what you got to ask for. You got to ask for winning seasons. And I can't say enough about Coach Maynard and his staff that's what he does. Whether it's 6-5, 7-4, you know, Alabama A&M has always played football at that level. But on the other hand, you got my guy. Did you say Gremlin?
No. I said Alabama State coach Eddie Robinson.
Alabama State, right? You know, Eddie, you know, is off his honeymoon. You know, but what can you say? You know, you're looking at a guy that's never coached before. You know, the only thing he's ever been a head coach at is a softball, little league, girls. So, you know, you get what you ask for, you know, and he's finding his way. Not to say that Eddie Robinson don't know football. He knows football, but it's a difference when you got to know people. You know, who you surround yourself with. You know, when to know some is bad and some is good. You know, and sometimes you hold on to coaches too long. You know what I mean? And you know, he's gonna have to make some coaching changes. I know he don't want to, because Eddie is just that type of guy. He's a superhuman being. And but to get that program going in the right direction, he's got to dig down deep in his soul, and he's gonna have to make some changes at the end of this year. Because if not, you know, scoring 17 points a game, it ain't gonna do it for Alabama State Hornet fans. I know those fans. I sat with them this week, up in the sweet box, and man, they are very, 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 very frustrated.
Man, hey, and Coach, and these last two coaches in the East, and I'll mention them together. You can take it on how you choose. Jackson State and then Florida A&M. We're talking T.C. Taylor and Coach Willie Simmons.
Well, you know, man, it's always great when you got alumni. T.C. Taylor is alumni of Jackson State. You know, when I was coaching at Alabama State, T.C. Taylor was a player, you know, and we ended up beating him 68-61. But he scored a lot of touchdowns, caught a lot of passes for Jackson State. Great kid. And evidently, he surrounded himself with a good staff. He's not falling off much, you know, after losing, 7 or 8 All-Americans off your football team, and to come back and play great football. You know, you can't say enough. And unfortunately, he's on the side with Florida A&M, you know, which Coach Simmons has done a great job there. You know, he's consistent everywhere he's been. You know, he's had a 1A experience. He coached at Alcorn as a coordinator, so he had the HBCU experience. So he knows what it takes to win a football program. And let's get it straight. They got players down in Florida, and he has a pipeline to those players, and that makes him successful.
So we'll move over, Coach, to the East. We'll move over to the East and talk about them, and we'll start at the bottom the same way we did with the West. I mean, we'll go over to the West. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused now. We'll go over to the West, and we'll start at the bottom just like we started the East. And those two bottom dwellers are both winless in the SWAC, both 1-4, but they're in very different situations again. We're talking about your alma mater, along with Arkansas Pine Bluff, which has a new coach. I think it's Coach Hampton, if I'm not mistaken. And so, what do you think about those two programs and where they're headed from a coaching standpoint?
Unfortunately, Coach, you know, you're talking about day and night, because you're talking about a first-year coach and a coach in his 5th year. The coach in his first year is still on his honeymoon at Arkansas Pine Bluff, which hadn't really been a big winner in the SWAC conference, even though they've won 2 championships. And besides those 2 championships they won, they had losing football programs. So, you know, you got to give him a pass. You got to let him come in and recruit his guys in and see where the program go. They playing good football. They beat Miles College. Alabama State lost to Miles College. That says something about his program. On the other hand, you're looking at Texas Southern, which is my alma mater, and I hate to talk about it, but it's true. Here's a guy that was the highest paid coach in the conference at one time. He's in his 5th year. That means the kids that he recruited the first 2 years he there are either seniors or redshirt seniors.
And, or graduated.
Or have graduated. And, your program should be way better than that. When you look at people in the conference, you had Dion came in, won back-to-back championships. You had my man down in Alcorn, Coach McNair, has won championships. You have my guy, Coach Dooley at Southern University. He was close to some in Prairie View and then won his first year at Southern. So, unfortunately for Coach McKinney, it just ain't happening. It just ain't happening for him. And, and it's time to at Texas Southern, they're going to have to make some hard decisions. Either they're going to continue to let the football program and the sporting, because football is important, go down the toilet, or they're going to wipe the toilet up and get it clean and bring somebody else in.
Yeah, Coach. That's a tough situation. I'm sure, especially this year with 2 years, this would have been the 3rd year with Andrew Body. Everybody had high expectations after his performance as a freshman and a sophomore. And to come in at, midway through the season and be 1-4, I'm sure that's a great disappointment for the fan base and alumni. So in that same
last year, they weren't exactly in this situation, but they were able with all the Southern losing the Valley and Valley beating Prairie View and Southern beating Prairie View, things was twisted around. You know what I'm saying? So that was the thing with that. So, it's not really tough. You got to come in there and you got to establish yourself.
Yeah, Coach. This next guy, and this next program we're gonna talk about, and I'm gonna, bring him up by itself because I think this, I'm perplexed as a fan as to why let me just put it like this. At Southern, they have the guy they wanted coaching, right? They have the guy they wanted, the fan base wanted. They wanted somebody from the Pete Richardson coaching tree, obviously. They wanted to get him in there. He knew Louisiana. He knew the New Orleans area. And he was brought in to coach an already talented football team.
Right.
After the first year, the fan base and alumni was extremely frustrated after 1 year. And that frustration has carried over to this season. They sit here at 2-3 in conference, 3-3 overall. At 2-1 in conference, 2-3 overall. However, on another show, a guy from Southern, Perry White, pointed something out. In less than a year, Coach Dooley has lost twice to Florida A&M and 3 times to Jackson State. In the situation, and that has utterly frustrated the fan base, Coach. So my question is, what does Coach Dooley need to do in order to turn around? Those are his people, and they're really frustrated with him. How can he turn things around for them and get them back on the Southern bandwagon?
Well, there's no question that he's struggling down there. And one of the things with Coach Dooley, he's an offensive guy, and so everybody was looking for him to be really, really explosive. If one thing on offense, but they're struggling on offense right now. And, and one of the things that people don't know, his starting quarterback from last year just quit the team. He didn't want to play no more, and he just quit the team. So, that's one of the things that people don't know what happened to the program. I have my people who talk to me about what's going on in that program. Basically, that's what's going on. But Coach Dooley, still being the offensive minded that he is, he's got to get it going in that direction. They're playing good enough defense. They're playing good enough defense to win some football games or be even close. But he's got to find the answer. And like you say, Coach, he's better find it quick, because those Southern fans, they like microwave ovens, baby. And they deserve it because they fill that stadium up. Great support. You see that ring? If you're looking at me, that ring, right here.
No, it's on the other side. Oh, that one. So that one says Tennessee. I see the SU, Coach.
Yeah,
I see the SU.
Right, that's a national championship ring from Southern University. And
Coach,
they support their football.
So, Coach, this is what, when you talk about an offensive mind, right? And you talk about a guy that, has an offensive pedigree. And this is what is kind of frustrated the fans just taking this year against, he scores 10 against Alabama State in the opener. He scores 14 against Jackson State, arch rival. He scores 20 against, that's not anything impressive. Then 27 against a down program like UAPB, and then 19 against another arch rival Southern. You're saying that doesn't bode well for a guy who is supposed to be, his expertise is on the offensive side of the football.
Well, the national average of an offense is 24 games. That's 3 touchdowns and a field goal. That's the national average. If you ain't hitting the national average, then that's your answer right there. That you're not getting it going. And not only are you not getting it going, let's look at your run game, where it is and where it ranks nationally. Let's look at your pass game, where it ranks. Are you turning the football over? But I don't see this because I've been watching them play. The defense is not that bad, meaning that every time you get the ball, you got to go 80 yards. You got to go 80 yards. So your defense always helps, with turnovers. So we got to look at turnover margin on the defense side of the ball. Are they giving you a short field some of the time? But when you're wearing Gucci suits, and I look, I love the way Coach Dooley, because he my guy, great guy, great family man, great man of God, But at the end of the day, man, when you play good, and he look good, he got to play good, And
you got to win,
because that's my kind of style. When he step out, he represents Southern University. He represents the alumni, and that's got to carry over to the field.
Yeah. That swag has to carry over to the field.
Yes.
Coach Drip, which is his nickname, that has to at some point manifest itself on the football field for the fans to really buy into it. Up to this point, go ahead.
You know what I call that?
What?
That's the fleas that come with the dog. You know what I mean? Hey, Coach, let me tell you something. I used to be sharp, Coach. But guess what? Hey, where's it at?
You got those rings behind you, Coach.
Yeah,
and that makes a difference.
Coach, yeah.
Coach, you can wear, taking a note from Bill Belichick, you can wear a sweatsuit, and as long as you win, Coach, we
can't be like that, man.
I know that's not the
men. We try to teach our young men. It ain't about swag, but it's about representation.
Absolutely.
We always got to be better. You know what I'm saying? So tell me about Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Steelers, Coach, and then I'll say, yeah.
Okay, Coach. Okay. Hey, Coach, in these next 3 coaches, I want to take on Hugh. I want you to have what are your thoughts about Hugh? You've got to see him up close and personal, see his program, see him in a big game. What did you think about him and his team as they are midway through their second year of their program?
First of all, Hugh Douglas Coach
Hugh Jackson.
Hugh Jackson is a very intelligent guy. And He done great in the pros, even though he didn't get his just due. You he won and he won at Green Bay and things just didn't work out. At the Raiders and Cleveland. But he's a very intelligent guy. I had an interesting conversation with a guy yesterday, one of my constituents, and told me that what Hugh did was he reached out and said, I want some of the best HBCU coaches. And he ended up hiring Coach Thornton over there. You see what I'm saying? So he didn't come in, and that's what happens. And I know we talked about getting in these conversations about these FBS coaches, and we'll get into that, of coming in and having the right idea about what I need. And, I always talk to you about if I'm the head coach and I'm sitting in the room and I know more than everybody, it's going to be a problem there. So I want to take my hat off to Coach Hugh Jackson. And, of course, he knows the X's and O's in and out. But he has hearts and people around him that can help him with the other stuff of being the head coach at Grambling.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, there was no problem that he was not going to have any problem with the X's and O's. What he was going to have a problem with is acclimating to the culture of HBCUs, which I think we should get in that conversation right now. The other two coaches I think are pretty secure, and it's pretty, Prairie View's in first place, Alcorn is in second place. Those probably are going to be the two programs that are going to end up, in my opinion. Them and great, could be Grambling as well, going to end up in the SWAC championship. But I definitely wanted to get in this conversation, Coach, because you just touched on it. And the conversation is, with Hugh Jackson being a coach from outside the HBCU sphere, what do you think about, as vacancies come open, Coach, HBCUs considering coaches from Power 5, Group of 5 schools to coach their programs? What is your thought about that?
I'll be honest. I think it's ludicrous to go hire FBS coach that hasn't been at an HBCU school or hasn't been at a Division I AA school. It's ludicrous. And if you look back in our conference, in the SWAC conference, most of those guys are not successful. If they hadn't been in that environment, they're not successful. Here's the deal. I've coached on the Division I A FBS at the University of Cincinnati. My job, I had two duties, was to recruit and to coach the wide receivers. That was my job. I didn't know about housing. I never was invited on any speaking engagements. I didn't know nothing about financial aid. I didn't have to. I didn't know nothing about academics. I didn't have to. The good thing about me when I went there, I already knew all that stuff because I had learned it from my experience at the HBCU. So coaching was a breeze for me. I was like, dang, are we all for it? Can we go home? Coach, we got all that. I had a car. I had an office. When I got there, stuff was waiting. I had people to contact. If I want to know something about academics, I talked to the academic advisor. If I want to know, make sure my kid had housing, all that stuff was taken care of. And I was just a position coach. I never was invited to any functions of the head coach done or any speaking engagements. But it was a good thing I coached at the HBCU where I was attended. I was a part of it. So now here I am from, who's the number one team in the country? Georgia. I'm the tight end coach. I'm the wide receiver coach. I'm going to take over the job at, let's just say, Texas Southern University. I know nothing about speaking engagements. I don't, what kind of guy is he? Is he a guy that can get up and represent the university? How does he carry himself? Well, you don't have to carry yourself nowhere. In Georgia, all you got to do is come to work and coach the tight ends. Does he know about housing? You got to know about housing because that deals with your scholarships. Does he know about financial aid? Pell Grant, going out and recruiting guys. You know what I mean? That plays a role in it. It plays a major role in it because you also got to be a business guy on Division I AA. All right, what does that mean? You get 63 full scholarships, but you can give money to 85 of them, but you can only sign 30 each year. So if I've never dealt with scholarships, never dealt with Pell Grant, financial aid, how I'm gonna mix stuff up. All right, then you come with, and I ain't talked about coaching yet, right?
No, you haven't.
Start talking about, well, who I'm gonna bring with me? Okay, they gonna give me $400,000. They're gonna maybe pay your coordinators $100,000, and then everybody else is gonna run low from $25,000 to $70,000. So now you got to be able to take that money. Do they have the right strength coach? In FBA schools, you don't have to worry about the strength coach because the strength coach is paid from the athletic department. You know what I mean?
You're right, Coach.
It's so many things that you got to know about being a head coach at an HBCU school, because you can know some of the stuff or say, well, I'm intelligent enough and I'm going to learn all that. Well, that's frustrating when you get your head beat on the weekend. When you walk back to your athletic facility and nobody's there to take the trash out. You know what I mean? Or, because not only are you just dealing with those things I just talked about, everybody around you sometimes don't understand what it takes to build a program.
That's interesting, Coach.
So we ain't talking about the X's and O's. We're not talking about that. Look who we've had at Texas Southern University since I've been a part. We brought in Joe Redmond, who was from Central State, who went from NAIA program to a Division I AA. He wasn't ready. Then we hired Lionel Taylor, who was a Super Bowl coach. He coached in the pros. He brought pro coaches. But you know what they didn't know how to do? They didn't know nothing about financial aid. They didn't know nothing about housing. And they didn't know anything about scholarships and how to divvy them out. And worst come to worst, they didn't know how to recruit college.
Wow. That makes for Coach, that's an unmitigated disaster, Coach.
Right. Then we hired Coach Walter Highsmith, who came from a high school. He came from a high school coach. He hired a bunch of professional football coaches. We had more fights over them playing than actually what was going on in the program. Now he did a great job of recruiting, but we were salty on how to run a program. What was the best way to run a program? And then we end up bringing in Bill Thomas, a guy from Tennessee State, who's supposed to know A, B, C, D, and F. And that thing kind of got off rail with playing a lot of ineligible players and not doing things behind the closed doors the right way. And then we hired Steve Wilson after that. Steve Wilson came, and I felt sorry for Steve Wilson because he came into a mess, as well as I came into a mess behind all that. And so all that caught up with Texas Southern. So you got to be real careful about choosing the next head football coach at your university. What do I need? What and here's the positives about FBS coach. You bringing in a name guy, he's come from, let's just say he's coming from Georgia, or he's coming from Alabama. Everybody excited. But when everybody go home that night, and that guy's sitting in an office that's 12 by 12, and he's just leaving assistant head job, a job at Georgia, where he got his own locker room, he got his own car, he walks down to a bathroom that got water coming out the ceiling, and you know what I'm saying? You got fans, you know what I mean? And you're making, $300,000-$400,000, and you play at games where there's 90,000. Now you down to 12 or 5,000 or 3,000. And then you're looking around and people say, hey, your housing list ain't in, coach. well, we can't put this kid in the house. Well, now you got to take a transfer you in. Now we got to go find housing for him. See, this the real stuff, Rocky. You got the real guy.
So what you talking about when you come to coach HBCU football, you get in the trenches, right?
Yes.
At whatever position you take, whether you're the head coach or a position coach, you find yourself in the trenches, coach. And maybe, you know, I understand that HBCU coaching is an animal in and of itself, right?
Yes, sir.
There's sometimes, so to what it sounds like to me, you need to be not only a great head coach, but a top level administrator as well.
Ain't no question.
And so, does that put HBCUs at a disadvantage when going out and seeking coaching talent? Because maybe some of the X's and O's take a back seat to some of the football stuff.
Well, you know, when on your interview, you know, you can't get caught up in names and titles and you know, FBS. You got to know the person. You got to hear what he's talking about. You know, I you know, right now, you know, I got several guys are asking me about the Texas Southern game. Job, and you know, it ain't open. And you know, I feel sorry for Coach McKinney, but you know, 5 years, $300,000, $1.5 million, and you've won 9 football games. I mean, come on. You know, you can only feel sorry for him for so much. But they're calling me about the Texas Southern job, and you know, it's tough. And you know, one thing I ask them all: are you ready to get in the mud? Because it's mud, coach, and you know, and all mud ain't bad mud. You know, down south they got that red dirt. You know, that red dirt down there. You know what I'm saying? So those administrators got to understand. I mean, look at Eddie George. You know, I mean, Eddie George, Heisman Trophy, played at Ohio State. You know, all that fanfare, but when it gets on that turf, you know, it's all about are you prepared?
That Heisman, those all pros, they don't help him out when it comes to coach. Well, I will say this, coach, though he's not being given the fanfare that Deion had, and certainly he hasn't had the level of success that Deion has had. But I will say this, you know, in his 3rd year, looks like he has a pretty solid program. He haven't proved to be a championship program, but he has a pretty solid program, and he seems like he's built it brick by brick. It wasn't an overnight kind of thing for him.
Well, I'll take my hat off to him too as well, and I'm not going to be a critic without you know, being respectful. He's done some good things also, money-wise.
Okay.
You know, they built coaching offices. They've redone the field. So they've done some good things, you know, off the field as well. You know, but once again, that don't equal wins. That don't equal, because at the end of the day, the reason why he don't get the credit Deion got, you got to win, baby. Win, baby, win.
Now you're absolutely right, Coach. You know this better than anybody. Coaching is a results-based business. You can do all the goodwill, fundraising, all that kind of stuff you can do. You can have the highest graduation percentage. You can have your boys out in the community shaking hands and kissing babies at the local hospital. But at the end of the day, it's about winning. And if you don't win, your alumni and your fans are not going to be happy, Coach.
Coach, Vanderbilt overall probably got an average in the last 30 years of football is a 3.8 GPA on their football team. Look, every 5 years, Coach, they get a new coach, don't they?
Yeah.
It don't save you, Coach. It don't save you. You know,
you got to win, huh,
say
Coach?
what they want. You know, oh yeah, we care about their. You know, they wear a shirt and tie. You know, they run out and they speak proper and they're gonna graduate on time and dang, we ain't go to the bowl game. Well, we need to get rid of that coach. You know, it happens all the time.
But I like to. This is the last thing I'm gonna mention. Eddie George had a big win last week. He defeated Kennesaw. Now, I want to be totally honest. Kennesaw historically has had a great FCS program since they started playing football there. But this year they're 1-5. So maybe the win doesn't carry the kind of weight that it had in past years. But again, still a win. He's sitting at 3-2. He also got a win against Gardner-Webb the week before. So again, he has a chance to vie for the conference championship. Huh?
Did you see Gardner-Webb's schedule?
No, I didn't.
They struggling too. So
okay,
he lost to UT Martin, who's one of the best teams in the conference. So that's going to put him out, but he can go and win more football games.
Absolutely, Coach. Absolutely, Coach. But let us get into we're running close to the end. I want to get through, review our picks, and then we can move on, Coach. But we got to get our picks in because that's what we do here. And so let me go ahead and get us started here, Coach. So the first game we can do also a review of these games as well. So first is Alabama A&M at Grambling. This is a kind of a light week. There's a couple of homecomings going on, and they brought in some fresh meat for homecoming, so they're not real competitive games going on. But I definitely want to get your opinion on the games that I think will be competitive and a real battle out there. And this has the potential of being, and it's Alabama A&M and Grambling. What do you think about it, Coach?
I got Grambling. Play great defense, solid defense. Will score on Alabama A&M because Alabama A&M has always been not a team that is able to stop a good offense.
Okay, and again, so you think Coach Maynard is going to continue to struggle as you know, and so he's going to continue to struggle, and so that puts him in a situation where there may be some changes.
Well, I mean, he's pretty solid over there right now. I mean, there's no reason to get rid of him. You know, he's always in the middle of the road or in the upper top over there, and he will continue to be. You know, Coach Maynard does a great job on the offensive side of the ball, and he has those kids going. But I got Grambling. I think with Coach Thornton and Coach Hugh Jackson over there, they do a good job offensively. Special teams are great. I like the way the team looks. You know, it looks like a Grambling of old. And so I'm very impressed, and I got Grambling.
All right, Coach.
Who you got?
I got Grambling too, Coach. All that to say.
Okay. Don't be pinning me now.
I'll pick the next one, Coach. I'll pick the next one first.
Don't put your list in pencil and then you be on Saturday after the game. I know Cole chose this, so let me come on now.
I ain't gonna do you like that, Coach. So next game we got up, Coach, is Alabama State and Jackson State. Who you got, Coach?
No brainer. Alabama State can't score enough points.
Yeah, Coach. I tend to agree with you the same way. Agree with you. If you can't score, you can't win, Coach. And guess what, Coach? I'm a guy that loves defense, Coach. I actually love defense, but Alabama State is in a situation where they have really good defense and they're struggling on offense, and it just makes for a really, really difficult situation for everybody. All right, let me look at this other game here, Coach.
Jackson State is averaging 30 points a game. I mean, come on, 30 points and 16 points, it's a done deal.
All right, Coach. Next one up is Norfolk State and Tennessee State, Coach.
Man, I think Tennessee State play a much better competition. I think they'll speed the game up a good bit on Norfolk State. This is a game that they did post on their on their schedule to win, and I'm gonna take Tennessee State.
Coach, I got to take Tennessee State here in this, though. You know, though I think Dawson Odoms will have his guys prepared for the brand of football that Tennessee State plays, I just think Tennessee State is the better team. There's a couple other games that I want us to pick. Let me. I'm trying to go to the schedule right now, Coach. So just bear with me for a little bit. All right.
We're gonna have to get you another computer, man. We need these people to come on and watch so we can make sure you up and ready,
yeah, Coach. So the next game we got a MEAC game that I really want us to pick, Coach. It is Howard traveling to Harvard, Cambridge, Massachusetts to take on Harvard. What do you think about that one, Coach?
Well, I think it's a good game, but Howard's playing some good football. You know what I mean? And so in that case, I'm gonna take Harvard.
Okay, you going you said Howard, Coach?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Harvard.
Yeah, Harvard has a really good quarterback, Coach, and so I think they're going to do it. And we might as well do in South Carolina State.
Who? South Carolina and who?
Tennessee State is playing in Orangeburg against South Carolina State.
Tennessee State is?
Tennessee Tech.
Tennessee Tech. And they playing who now?
South Carolina State, old Buddy Pugh in Orangeburg.
And who they
Tennessee
playing?
Tech is 1-4. South Carolina is 2-3.
I'm gonna take Tennessee Tech.
I'm gonna take South Carolina. I'm gonna take old Buddy Pugh. I'm gonna go opposite you on this one.
Okay.
Let me get this other one covered. Get the swag up here right quick, Coach. All right. So we already had Florida A&M and Grambling. Okay. Coach, you called a game, the Toilet Bowl last week when Texas Southern was playing, I think Lincoln. I don't know who they were playing, but
yeah, Lincoln,
I think this is the real Toilet Bowl here. Arkansas Pine Bluff and Mississippi Valley. So who you got?
Wow. I'm going to go with Pine Bluff. I'm going to go with Pine Bluff.
With your coach. Matter of fact, Coach, I'm gonna go out on a limb and take Mississippi Valley and Enid Bena. They playing in Enid Bena. I think they can pull it out in Enid Bena against Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Yeah, well, look, I won't be surprised because if you know anything about Enid Bena, in between Greenville and Greenwood, ain't nothing but cotton fields around. Man, you definitely can lose your focus, you know. But I got Pine Bluff over Valley.
What about old Texas Southern and Bethune-Cookman, Coach?
Now, that's going to be a good game, Coach. I think both of them on the same level. You know, they're trying to find themselves. Body don't play for Texas Southern right now. They brought in another kid from the Houston area that transferred in from Florida, Jason. It's going to be up there. I like when I see Bethune-Cookman. I like the offense. You know, they do some good things. And the kids play. That's the thing about I like. Defensively, they real scrappy. Texas Southern is in a fog. You know, fifth year, we supposed to win. We got the quarterback that was picked preseason, second team all conference. Man, we just ready to go. We were right there last year, a game and really a quarter away, Rocky, from going to the championship game. Do you know that? Did you know that?
Yeah.
They were a quarter away, going into the fourth quarter, up 17 points, and lose to Alabama A&M.
Yeah.
Man, you know what I mean? And lose your quarterback, separated shoulders. So that built up like, man, we could go get it done. It's a lot of things happening. You lose your leader. You know, 5 years of promises. it's tough. It's tough in that camp right now, and it's up to Coach McKinney to try to pull all things together and get those kids prepared. Do they play them in Bethune-Cookman?
They play them in Bethune-Cookman.
Woo!
I'm going to tell you, I'm taking Bethune-Cookman, Coach.
What you say? I'm dancing around them. Man, I gotta go with them Tigers. I gotta go with the Tigers.
Okay. We got two more games left, and we can end this, Coach. We got Lincoln and Southern.
Oh man, come on, me and you can line up against
Southern. We both gonna take Southern on that one, I'm sure.
I ain't never seen a school just take ass whoopings, Coach. Just hey, anybody want to give an ass whooping? We'll come play.
Coach, Lincoln is 0-7, and this is week 7. So they took a butt whooping on 0 week, Coach. They
and they're startup program.
And if I'm not mistaken, Coach, all their games are on the road. If I'm not mistaken, Coach, I don't think they've played a home game yet. So, and the last one is Prairie View against Houston Christian, formerly known as Houston Baptist. Prairie View is 3-3, top of the conference, and Houston Christian is 2-4. What do you think? Who do you think is gonna win that one, Coach?
I'm gonna take HBU.
All right, Coach. I'm gonna take Prairie View. I think Prairie View has just has more talent than Houston Christian. Houston Christian
can run the football,
huh?
They definitely can run the football.
And Coach, I like Conley. He's a playmaker back there. He can deal a little bit. I actually like him, Coach, and so we'll see. Hey, Coach, it's been a pleasure. We went about 8 minutes over today, Coach, but we owed him some time from last week, man, because we didn't come on, man. It's another amazing show. I've had a great time, Coach, and I'll let you take us out with our final words, Coach.
Well, as you've seen, I was 8-3, right? And you were 9-1. That we do know football and we do know what we're talking about. And I'm going to give you the skinny about it. You're going to find the information, and I'm going to lay it out to you. I'm going to give you the fees that come with the dog. But as I always ended with, if you feel yourself at the end of the rope, tie a knot, hold on tight, because ain't nobody bad like you.
My name is JM&E, and I won $500 on the lunch money for keeping up with the Jonas Bracket Challenge.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
Sybil Wilkes with What You Need to Know. We made it. It's Friday, October 13th, 2023. Number 1, Majority Leader Steve Scalise, the man elected by his Republican House colleagues to be the next Speaker of the U.S. House, announced Thursday evening he was withdrawing his name from consideration in the election to replace Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House. News reports indicate the votes against Scalise increased over the day, putting the 217 votes he needed on the floor of the House out of his reach. The next person elected by the full House will replace Congressman Kevin McCarthy, removed in a history-making vote in which one member called for a motion to remove him and a total of 8 Republicans voted against the former Speaker. Number 2, starting in January 2024, millions of Social Security recipients will see a boost in their monthly benefits. The increase of 3.2% may be smaller than last year's substantial increase of 8.7%, but it's still a helping hand as we face the rising costs of daily life. Around 71 million people, including retirees, disabled individuals, and children, depend on Social Security to make ends meet. Number 3, since the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force changed the recommendations for mammograms in 2009, there's been much confusion about how effective mammograms are and whether or not women should have them. Here's what we know about mammograms. According to the National Cancer Institute, more than 60% of breast cancer cases are diagnosed before they spread. A study published in the Annals of Internal Medicine found that mammograms can help reduce the number of breast cancer deaths among women between the ages of 40 and 70. Number 4, Read Me a Story, Stella, by Marie Louise Gay, is about 2 kids who read books and build a doghouse. The Huntsville-Madison County Public Library in Alabama marked it as potentially sexually explicit because the author's last name is Gay. After reviewing, the school library journal says the book is appropriate for kindergarten through 3rd grade students. Number 5, November 1st is Black Entrepreneurs Day, and its creator, FUBU CEO and Shark Tank star Damon John, is looking to make it a success for the 4th year running. This year's event, which was first created in part to address frustration over injustice after the murder of George Floyd in 2020, will remain focused on celebrating Black business owners and addressing economic inequities. This year, 8 winners will receive a $25,000 entrepreneurship grant and business guidance from Mr. John. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. Life is a series of choices. Let's choose to fellowship with one another. All right. Thanks to our What You Need to Know partners, the American Heart Association and Black Health Matters. Barbara Scotia College and HBCU in Concord, North Carolina needs our help. The What You Need to Know team is asking supporters, alumni, and friends of Barbara Scotia to help them meet their immediate and pressing needs by donating to help Barbara Scotia rise. Please join the thousands of donors from around the world who are stepping up to save one of the nation's oldest HBCUs. Visit SibylWilkes.com for more information. And check out the celebration of Black filmmakers rooted in the HBCU culture. It's running November 10th through the 12th at Howard University's Blackburn Center. I'm Sibyl Wilkes. Be informed, be empowered.